Okay, so I added this word crucial, a little bit of alliteration, k. We also sort of do it a little bit here. Settings, share, similar structures. We don't, it normally shows up in creative work, but if you're doing it in an effective way, sort of sprinkling a little bit here and there, shared spaces. If you see an opportunity to, it's kind of fun, and I think it adds to a paper as long as that paper is doing well on the other things. So there's it's not like, well, just do this and you'll get a good grade. There's like the reason why I'm making these videos is there's like a whole bunch of stuff. There's like 20 things, and if you weave them in well, then it can really help create a strong essay. And but if you only focus on one or two, it's not going to be enough um, to really wow the teacher and really make some good points. Um, the most important thing is that our our evidence and our support are again going to supporting our thesis. So that's what it's all about. Is every time you make a point, you want to go back up and look at the thesis. Um, Emphasis on wars, bringing people together collectively and actively. Common goal. Bringing people together. So here we're talking about the instead of there. It's not about private ownership. It's not about the speaker shuns individuality through this word choice. So it's about bringing them together. And then here, shared spaces relegates the individuality. Individuals don't matter. And then I make a blatant, that's the thing too, is you want to make a good solid point, right? That's defending your thesis and that is directly pulled from whatever you're quoting. And then just really drive the point home. Instead, the speaker implies that individuals don't matter in this narrative. Where essentially the speaker is implying, but we said essentially here. So rather, what matters is the notion of community, right, which is our thesis. And the word choice is again, ding, ding, ding. The word, we're talking about word choice, line breaks, personification, and word choice. And in terms of the order, we might change that. We might, since we're talking about word choice first, we'll see. We'll see. We normally want to have it in order, but if we're mixing it up because we're doing chronology, so it might be word choice, personification, word choice, personification, then it's okay if they're not in order. Um, and that was another way we could have structured it. We could have said, okay, let's do all the word choice ones first, and then but I like chronology for multiple reasons. But I mean, there are multiple ways to structure it, and I don't think there's a right or a wrong. I'm sure that teachers read many different essays with many different points of view and like ways in. You just want to be organized. You want to come in extremely organized, and and that usually means proofread and well thought out. So every little decision is well thought out. Whether we're writing an essay or it's someone who's like an author that's writing a creative piece, it's very very well thought out. um, I think it's way harder to write creative work than it is to write essays, um, but I still think this is very helpful, just in life and scholastically, of course, etc. Okay, so let's look at the next quotes. Okay, the young men falling in and arming. So that's a lot of lines. We don't want to overwhelm the lines. That's one of the things that teachers don't like is if you got like 19 lines and you just put a block. I mean, um, it's a lot. So we can say, I mean, it is a lot. I don't know if we should write this much. I like, so we want to, so what we could do is we could say the mechanics, the lawyer, the judge. We could quote all those and then we could end with this. So let's do that. You don't want to have like 8 lines. No. Maybe 4. You don't want to have 8. So later on lines, so that was 24, 25, right? 26, 27. So yeah, 27 through 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. 27 through 35. The speaker clearly lists, merely lists, let's just say lists. The speaker lists multiple occupations. Of people, describing them all as joining the war effort. We haven't said Manhattanites in a while. Let's say that Manhattanites was joining the war effort. Some of the occupations. And demographics, right? Because he talks about young people. Up. The speaker. So you could say. So these. So you could say the speaker, he or she, he/she. I don't like to use he/she for some reason. I don't like to use it that much. Maybe once or twice, but I like to really try to figure out how else can we write by not saying he/she, he/she. The speaker. You could also say Whitman, but again, it goes back to that. The teacher might not be might be a stickler about that, saying, "Well, no, it's not Whitman. It's the speaker. It's the speaker Whitman," and that's something you have to kind of argue. So, and then we'll go back after we revise, and then we'll make sure that it's really clear, and it makes sense and it's logical. So, we could say indeed the speaker, but I don't want to get too creative here. So say the speaker starts with, and then I'll say the young men because that's capitalized, and then moves to. So we're sort of quoting these lines, but we're not just dropping a huge 10-line block. Also, it's kind of a cop out, right? If you just drop huge thick lines and then I mean, you could almost write a full essay on 10 lines or 15 lines or something ridiculous. I mean, this isn't 10. This is like 8, but it's still a lot though. You want to do like maybe 5 max. You don't want to go overboard. Speaker starts with the young men and then moves to then again, we've got our mechanics arming. The lawyer. The mechanics. Let's just say the mechanics. Then moves to the mechanics. And I like putting the word then in between each quotations, because then just visually it helps the reader read. You really want to, I mean, you're communicating in multiple ways. One of the ways is visually you don't want it to be so difficult to read. So we could say the mechanics, the this, the that, but we have quotations. So those are a little bit onerous on someone's eyes. So you want to help them a little bit. So then the lawyer, then the judge, and the lawyer, right? So this allows us to use those words, but not taking up, not using these blocks of every single word in the quote. So the judge, the driver, then the salesman, And so we're using lowercase t's when we see capital T's because we want it to make sense within our sentence. Speaker starts with the young men, then moves to the mechanics, then the lawyer, the driver, the salesman, the boss. Yeah, here we go. So then the salesman, now we're going to change. Now we're going to quote this last one. Then depicts, because we already said describes. Then depicts. So then here we're going to say, so then here we're going to, since this, so this is going to be 35. So 35, 34, 33, 32. So this is 32. Then depicts. You could say depicts the following, but we don't really need that. Then you want to go back up here, and that was half of one. So it's just a tab. All right. The salesman leaving the store. The boss. So now we're going to quote the whole thing. Porter. All. Leaving. And that forward slash usually shows line break. And we can talk about ALA and MLA. I mean, these different formats and whatnot. We'll do. I'll do some videos on that as well. But so it's leaving the store, the boss, bookkeeper, porter, all leaving. Now let's go back here. And this is sort of 4.5. Yeah, 4.5. I don't know if it. Let's do 4.5. Let's go here. And then lines 30, 135. You want to double check. A huge deal, but and that was 25, right? Yeah. So 25, 26. So 27, 8, 9, 30, 1, 2, 3. So 2, 27 to 32. And then 4, 5. Which is what we explained. Okay, cool. And then that's capital. We capitalize the word lines. Okay. So let's move it over to 4. Okay, it's not so. That's more readable. This is it. It's certain. It's okay. 34, 35. Okay, so let's explain this. What is telling about these lines is that the people depicted are unnamed. Rather, they are merely described in generic terms such as young, or as a demographic, or here. Such as young, or such as. Okay, so we won't say young because we're sort of talking about the previous. So let's talk about generic terms such as their demographic, young, or their occupation, lawyer, or lawyer, etc. This word choice, again, we go back to our thesis, right? This word choice removes the, again, emphasizes, well, we might change that word, emphasizes, again, emphasize the collective over the personal, and the generic, and the generic, group and the generic reference to people in a group. And we want to use parallelism, right? The collective over the personal. Generic reference to people in a group over the individual. And then we want to drive the point home again. which says that war, it's the war. Further supporting, right? Because you've already said emphasizing the idea that war, because we've said notion and all that. We just want to mix it up, right? We haven't said idea in a while. The idea that war's inherent ability brings people together, common goal. Brings people together for a common goal. Now we're not talking about exactly arming and stuff. We're just using the young man, the mechanics, the lawyer, the judge. So now let's quote lines 34 and 35. Specifically, in lines 34 and 35. So we could have said it starts with the young men. Let's cut this out. Let's move this. Let's X this out. And then we'll say and then. So we'll change it to let the reader know that we're done. We're done with this section. For a common goal. And then we want to introduce line 34 and 35, which we'll do here. So you notice what I did? I moved that because I want to focus on these quotes. But I don't want to just drop a huge block. So I think that this is good. And then we could say the speaker. I want to say wraps this group up. That's kind of a cliche. So the speaker further adds in line 35. So yeah, we'll go over exactly what we're going to say, introducing this quote in the next video. Thank you very much.